And welcome back to another episode of Thursdays with Charlie. This is number 70, the 23rd of September, 2021. 70 episodes we've done. That means approximately 35 hours of broadcast time. This is amazing, and I'm really glad to be doing it. I still haven't run out of things to talk about, and apparently if you're watching the show, you haven't run out of things to listen to. So we're glad that we're together for this. Just a quick reminder that our dedication ceremony for the Garces Center is scheduled for 2 p.m. on Sunday, October the 10th. The doors will open at 1:30 p.m. Tickets are $5 each and are available at all of the Sunday Masses, both here and at the Riverside. And they're also available during the week, Monday through Thursday, at the church office from 8 until 3. So kind of nice that we're doing the dedication on Columbus Day weekend. That Columbus Day weekend 18 years ago in 2003 was the celebration of the dedication of our church building. And the church was dedicated on October the 11th, 2003. So we're very glad that we're keeping that weekend as a special one for our parish as well. And as I mentioned last week, we have a great list of people coming. I think you're going to enjoy seeing some old friends. Of course, I'll be here with both of our deacons, Deacon Richard and Deacon Dan. Bishop George Leo Thomas is going to be the officiant at the dedication ceremony. Bishop Gregory Gordon is expected to attend, and he's a good friend and also a very great source of information about Father Garces and has a great interest in them. Of course, Father John McShane will be joining us here. I think it's kind of interesting that Father John, when he began the parish in 1992, already had an interest in Father Garces and his access to our area. Governor Steve Sisolak, the governor of the state of Nevada, will be here. And also Daniel Markham. He's the author who's writing a book called 52 Masses. He's going to attend Mass at one church in every one of the 50 states, plus the area of Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. And we're the parish chosen to represent the entire state of Nevada. I think it's interesting for Daniel coming here to do his book and be with us on that weekend. It's probably going to be the only parish he visits where he'll get the governor of the state and the bishop of the diocese to be in attendance. So we're looking forward very much to having them all here with us. We will have a commemorative gift box of Father Garces and some souvenirs about the event that we'll give to every participant at the ceremony. So please save some time. It'll take about an hour, maybe a little bit more, on Sunday, the 10th of October, beginning at 2 o'clock here at the church. Doors open at 1:30 p.m. I wanted to talk a little bit about Catholic devotional items. Every now and then something runs through my mind and I decide, I wonder how many of those I can remember. It's like, can I name all 50 states, or can I name the counties in the state of Nevada, or the capitals of all the states? And I'll start making a list. It's probably good mental practice, but it also fills some time and is kind of an interesting source of information. This week I got thinking of Catholic devotional items. The Catholic Church has always been very close to the world, very close to physical things as well as physical people. And so there are many items over the years that have kind of been brought into the church as items of devotion, items that we use to help us in our relationship with God. So I started to make a list, and this is just off the top of my head. When I get to the end of it, maybe you'll be thinking of other things that you can add from your own experience. And again, if you do, please, when you come to church this weekend, mention them to me, so when I make future lists, I can add them to my list. When I thought about them, one of the first and most obvious Catholic devotional items is the Rosary. Catholics for years have carried rosaries, given rosaries to children on their first communion, given rosaries when a man becomes a Knight of Columbus, a rosary is given. Some religious orders in their habits have rosaries incorporated into their habits. They're selections of beads counting the various mysteries and events in the life of Christ while praying the prayer that honors Mary, the Hail Mary. So Rosary is a very obviously Catholic devotional item. I thought immediately of the miraculous medal. I've been wearing one for years. Goes back to goes back to France in the 1800s. The miraculous medal. It's been a beautiful image of Mary, and it also reminds us of her Immaculate Conception. It's a nice tribute to honor Mary by wearing that miraculous medal. Of course, there's other medals that follow it that are different than the miraculous medal. They honor particular saints, and those are welcome too as Catholic devotional items. Then there are scapulars, those pieces of cloth that hang by cloth bands usually on the front and the back of the person. They're a remnant or a reminder of some monastic habits. Some people wear scapulars. I have to admit that in the course of my life, I have never worn a scapular regularly. I tried it, and I found that they tend to stick to my skin. They tend to be something that makes me aware of them, but not in a good way while I'm wearing them. And so a scapular has never been an item of devotion that I've chosen to wear for any lengthy period of time. I've tried it, and then I said, no, I'll stick with my miraculous medal and my rosary. Then there are holy cards. People sometimes have an image of a saint. Sometimes they're printed on funeral cards when someone we love has died. Sometimes we just pick them up at a religious article store or a sale. We have a particular saint, a particular image of Mary that we like to carry or have available to us in our room. And holy cards are a devotional item. There are pictures of saints, pictures of Jesus or Mary that are artistically done over the years. Some images are very, very popular and very, very powerful, like Michelangelo's the Pietà. We have pictures of that. Of course, sometimes we go further than the picture. We have a statue, a three-dimensional object, again, honoring Jesus or Mary or one of the saints throughout our history. Then there's crosses or crucifixes. A cross is usually just the wood or another figure, if not wood, maybe a bit of metal formed into the pattern of the cross. It has no body, no corpus on it. A crucifix is a cross that has the body of Jesus on it, either in flesh tones or in metallic or painted on in some cases. And so a cross is the wood, usually the shape, and the crucifix is having the actual body, the figure of Christ on it. But that's not all. We have things like prayer books. Some people have a missal they carry with them, or a book of prayers that they happen to like and they like to refer to. Some people keep them at a place at home where they can pray, or they carry them with them on their way. Of course, another item of devotion, not only for Catholics, but for many other religions in the Christian tradition and the Jewish tradition, is the Bible. We look at the Bible, we look at those books of our church history, our history of our relationship with God, and that can remind us of that relationship and upkeeping it through prayer. Then we have particular prayer forms, things like a novena, doing something 9 times. Sometimes those novenas have particular prayers attached to them. Sometimes it's just a matter of repeating something 9 times or over 9 days or over 9 weeks or 9 months. That's the whole idea of a novena. A triduum would be a third of a novena, a 3-day something, or a triple something, doing something 3 times or over a period of 3 days. There's something called a chaplet. It's a way of counting off a number of prayers. It looks like a little small rosary. It's usually divided into a group of 10 beads that you would pray 10 separate prayers or to repeat one prayer 10 times. There are some chaplets like the Chaplet of Divine Mercy that have become very, very popular. There's some interest in relics, things that have been in contact with those who have been declared saints. Sometimes it's a piece of their body or their bones. Sometimes it's a piece of the habits that they wore or clothing or something that they touched or made use of in life. Those are relics. They're not terribly common, but there are some around. Someday we'll have to devote a whole show, I think, to the whole idea of relics. Then there's the whole array of blessed items. People have different things blessed, whether it be an item that they're going to keep in their house, something that they like. It could be one of the images or statues or devotional items that you just have it blessed and it reminds you. Sometimes it's a piece of palm like we get on Palm Sunday. It's a blessed item that reminds us of our relationship to God. Another typically Catholic devotional item is holy water. Sometimes we keep it in our home. We always have it at church to bless ourselves, make the sign of the cross by dipping our fingers in holy water. It's a reminder of our baptism, the original cleansing from original sin that took place. And some people like to keep a supply of a small bottle of holy water in their home, whether to bless themselves or to bless their property or their house or their children. It's an old custom of blessing a young child before he or she goes to bed at night. It's a beautiful tribute to our devotion to God to do that. Sometimes it's even physical items. I know that sometimes if people have visited the Holy Land, they come back with a small vial or a container of soil from the Holy Land, the area where Jesus walked and talked and taught and worked his miracles. And that's a Catholic devotional item as well. One item which I haven't mentioned yet are votive lights or candles of any sort. And there's a long history of candles in our relationship with God. Of course, if we go back in early biblical times, there weren't electrical lights or gas lights. Candles provided the light that was used, and candles very early on became associated with religious worship. In the Jewish tradition, the lighting of a candle is very significant. The lighting of the first candle of the Sabbath is very significant. And sometimes it's an honor given to a particular person in the family to light that candles. It's a sign of that union with God and union with his people. In fact, in the Jewish tradition, there's a very special candelabra called a menorah. It's a 9-branched candle holder. It holds 9 candles. And it goes back, it's celebrating the feast of Hanukkah, the festival of lights. Hanukkah, which occurs every year in the fall, sometimes very, very close to the Christian celebration of Christmas, goes back to the rededication of the Second Temple. This would be around 167 years before Christ, when they gathered to rededicate the temple after the Maccabees. You can read about them in the Bible. These men were very religious who wanted to restore the beauty and the power of Jewish worship in the face of paganism. And when they went to rededicate the temple, there was only a small supply of oil to light their lamps, to keep them going. And the oil miraculously lasted throughout the dedication ceremony. It was like we would talk about the multiplication of loaves and fishes. This was like a multiplication of the supply of oil. And the Jews always saw that as a sign of God's care for them. In the New Testament, Jesus himself says, "I am the light of the world." He brings light into the world, light to our minds, light to our hearts, light to the whole world. And that's a very powerful symbol. We speak of votive candles, and it comes from a Latin word votum. And a votum can either be a vow, a promise, or a prayer. We talk about it in many different ways in the Latin language, but a votum, I like the idea of it being a promise. It's something that you're pledging to do. And so the votive lights become a symbol of that, I don't know how many times Catholics have said to one another, when I go to church, I'll light a candle for you. I'll do something. I'll promise that I'll do this to keep your intentions, your thoughts, your needs in my mind. Sometimes these are very personal needs. Sometimes they're very generic or general needs. If you were to go into Catholic churches, especially city churches, a few decades ago, you would find racks and racks of physical candles, and they'd usually be little wooden sticks, and you would light them, and then you would light a particular candle and then snuff out the stick in some sand or other items that were put there. Unfortunately, with the development of modern times, if you will, a lot of places have done away with real physical candles because they're afraid of things catching fire. In some places, like where we are in Clark County, Nevada, there are actually laws against having an unattended open flame. That's kind of why in our church we've always had candles on the altar that were real and actually had a real flame, but we blow them out when we leave the church. The sanctuary lamp, a candle representing the presence of Jesus in the Holy Eucharist and the tabernacle, since that burns 24 hours a day continually, we had to come up with using an electronic candle for that because we sometimes do leave the church unattended. We have a Paschal candle, which we again use a regular real flame on because it's lit while we're present with it. The Paschal candle is that large candle that burns for 50 days after Easter while we're in the church attending the services. It also burns at every baptism and at every funeral. It's a sign of our beginning our Christian life at baptism and our going home to be with the Lord at our funeral, at our death. And so candles play an important part in our Catholic tradition as well. And whether they're electronic candles, as we have here in Clark County, or they're real candles, as some places, especially some city churches, maintain, they're a beautiful sign of pledging, promising that we'd like to spend this time with the Lord. Now, you may have noticed in our church here in Laughlin, we had 2 racks of electronic votive candles. They've lasted for many years, one in front of our mosaic of St. Joseph and one in front of our mosaic of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And they've served us well, but you've also noticed in recent months we've had to block them off with signs because the circuitry has just worn out on them and they weren't able to be repaired. And so we wanted to do something to bring back the idea of the votive candles. And we found a company called Shrine Design that I had worked with back when I was in New Jersey. And they design candle structures for votive candles. And so we asked them to come and take a look at our church. And they did. And they designed candle holders for our votive candles. And so we have new racks of candles which arrived actually just this week. And we have 45 of them in front of the St. Joseph mosaic. We have 45 of them in front of the Our Lady of Guadalupe mosaic. And we have 54 of them, we added this, in front of our statue of Our Lady of Fatima. You might notice if you look at them, the ones in front of St. Joseph are red, the ones in front of Our Lady of Guadalupe are blue, and the ones in front of Our Lady of Fatima are white. So it gives you that red, white, and blue look across the front of our sanctuary. It's a very patriotic and a very warm feeling, and I hope you will enjoy it. We also put a small rack of candles, 14 of them, over in the Garces Center to honor Father Garces' presence in our area. We'll tell you more about those later on in the year. But for now, we have 158 votive lights across our church, 100 58 of them that are really beautiful, and we hope that you'll take a look at them if you'd like to use them and use them as an item of devotion. It's one more item of Catholic devotion that hopefully will help us keep our attention fixed on God as much as we can. Later on in the show, if you just a few minutes, we'll take you into the church and give you a quick tour of the new candles, the ones by the St. Joseph mosaic, the ones by Our Lady of Guadalupe mosaic, and the ones by Our Lady of Fatima. We'll show you the ones in the Garza Center after the dedication ceremony. For now, it's time for Pascal to come and join us, and appropriately, he has a Latin phrase that are the words of Jesus. Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Lux Mundi ego sum." Lux Mundi ego sum. I am the light of the world. Jesus gives light to our minds, to our hearts, to our whole lives, and to our whole world. God bless and thanks for joining us. And thank you for watching today's episode of Thursdays with Charlie. Welcome into our little church. As mentioned in the show, we received our new votive light stands, and this is the one for St. Joseph. There's red candles. They're very easy to use. It's a beautiful paneled wood box that they're set upon. There's 45 candles over here, so there should always be one available. Very simple. I'm using $1 for the donation, but it can be any amount. Place it in there and then choose which candle you would like to light. I'm going to choose this one. There's a red button in front of each candle, and all it takes is a push of the button and the candle goes on. It's a flickering light. The lights will stay on for at least 12 hours, so during the full half of a 24-hour period, they will be on. Please feel free to come into the church anytime we're open during office hours or before or after the Sunday Mass or the Saturday evening Mass that we have here at church. And we can honor St. Joseph with the votive lights over here. As I mentioned during the show, the votive lights are a sign of our prayers to God. In this case, through St. Joseph, we lift up our prayers and we leave the light there in honor of Jesus' statement, "I am the light of the world." And the votive light reminds us that we're here. We're part of that light of the world along with our Lord. Thank you. And our second set of lights, we have 45 votive lights here honoring Our Lady as Our Lady of Guadalupe, our mosaic over here. They work the same way. There's 45 lights there. Again, I'm using $1, but any donation is fine. And pick whatever candle you would like. The candles have a red button in front of each of them. The button you push will light that candle. And it has a flickering glow to it as it stays on. It's very beautiful if you ever come into the church and the lights are not on. The glow from the candles looks absolutely beautiful. So we have red for St. Joseph and we have blue for Our Lady of Guadalupe. Thank you. And our corner display is Our Lady of Fatima. We've never had vigil lights, votive lights over here by Our Lady of Fatima, but we decided to make the whole front of the church uniform. And so there are 54 white lights over here. Again, they work the same way. Donation goes into the thing. Again, I'm using $1, but any donation is fine. You would pick the light and choose the red button in front of the light, and that's the one you push, and that's the one that will come on. They look absolutely beautiful, especially in a dimly lit church. You might notice that if you were to look across the church, we have red for St. Joseph, we have blue for Our Lady of Guadalupe, we have white for Our Lady of Fatima. So we have a red, white, and blue montage across the front of our church. We are a very patriotic parish, and we are pleased to be able to offer vigil lights, votive candles for our parishioners and our visitors to use. Thank you.